Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and her office can remain in charge of the Georgia investigation into Donald Trump and his co-conspirators' efforts to allegedly overturn the results of the 2020 Georgia election. But other changes will need to be made. Now, obviously, there's that investigation and there's the spinoff investigation, which isn't as good as most spinoffs aren't, into whether Fani Willis had been biased or corrupt in her investigation into Donald Trump and his nearly 20 co-conspirators. So Judge Scott McAfee has been looking into this. We've had weeks of testimony. It's been very contentious and dramatic at times. And the end result is also kind of contentious and a little bit dramatic. So we're gonna dive into it. So he said that he found, quote, the appearance of impropriety, but ruled that the relationship between her and Wade, the special investigator there, brought no actual conflict of interest and denied the defendant's claims and requests. So basically, it doesn't look good, and he's got a lot of other criticisms to make of Fani Willis, but it's not what those who'd been trying to use this to derail the investigation or to punt Fani Willis or the entire case from being investigated. It's not that, is what he's saying. Now, he does say that either Willis or Wade will have to leave the case for it to continue, which I think in practice means that Wade needs to leave the case, because it would be, I think, a little bit weird if Wade were to stay on and Fani Willis were to leave, but I guess anything is possible. And I want you all to remember that Willis throughout this has strongly denied claims that her relationship with the special prosecutor here tainted the proceedings or created any financial or ethical conflict of interest of any kind. But that said, I want to give you a little bit more from the judge. He said that his decision should not indicate that the court supports Willis's, quote, tremendous lapse in judgment, or what he called her unprofessional manner during tense testimony. Rather, it is the undersigned's opinion that Georgia law does not permit the finding of an actual conflict for simply making bad choices, even repeatedly. Okay, so he says, I may not like it, you may not like it, but that doesn't make it illegal, and it doesn't mean that there's an actual conflict of interest here. That has not actually been demonstrated. Bad choices perhaps have been demonstrated, but not an actual conflict. And in response to this, Trump lawyer Steve Sadow said that the ruling, quote, did not afford appropriate significance to what the court heard about Willis and Wade's relationship and their conduct. Quote, we will use all legal options available as we continue to fight to end this case, which should never have been brought in the first place. Basically, did not afford appropriate significance to, as Trump said, the fact that he's her lover. We can't have the lovers investigating. That's not a crime though. So the judge, I think, makes sense in a lot of this. We're gonna get into more of it, but Brett, what do you think?
Trump's motivation for trying to get Fani Willis kicked off the case has nothing to do with anything except he just doesn't want to be in a case. It has nothing to do with whether what she did affects whether like justice is being served. He doesn't want justice to be served. Every time in the past when justice has been served, he's had to pay $500 million more. And so he wants to stop that. So there's no way that people who are fighting for Trump are acting in good faith when they're saying Fani Willis get off the case. I think she should get off the case. I think if you're a good DA, then you should not put your own pride out there and hubris to get you to be the person in front of the camera. I think it would be better for the case if she left him on it. That would signal I chose the best person for it, not my boyfriend. And the timeline, as you pointed out last time, like they were boyfriend, girlfriend after, it seems. But she needs to get away from this case immediately.
But obviously there are significant consequences, not just to her if she does that. If she leaves, that potentially derails the investigation for months. I mean, could actually lead to it.
Well, I just don't. I think usually the district attorney does not try the case. Like I live in Los Angeles, where the district attorney has never tried a case in his whole goddamn life. Like they're politicians. They try to say what the main thrusts of what they're doing in their district are. They have actual lawyers that prosecute a case. She should get the hell out of there, is my opinion. And it's the only thing optically that makes sense to me, especially given how she conducted herself when they asked her questions about it. That's something that the judge even pointed out.
We're gonna turn to that in just a sec. I will only say that there are a lot of people I think who might agree with you that in some forms of her conduct that it was obviously not optimal, but that theoretically she's less important than the charges and the investigation. And if the investigation potentially could disappear without her, it's better to have her and the investigation than perhaps neither.
But that's not how anything works.
No, I don't think that's how it should work, but that is according to the people who, it might be how it works though in practice. There was never any reason why if all of a sudden she could no longer be involved, the case should go away. But from the very beginning, serious observers of this have said that that is a very real possibility. It doesn't make any sense to reasonable people, but that is apparently the way that it actually works.
No, but those two are close, right? Like those two are close, and that's kind of what the judge says. Like, you guys are pretty close. This is improper for both of you to stay on there. And my take is that like her wishes are his wishes. It's fine. This is very like English almost, and like it just seems improper. Please step away from the case. And then you go and do the same thing. Like I think she needs to get away from the case. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Well, I mean, she doesn't have to. Obviously, the judges like him or her go away, but like it just sounds like he's gonna stay on it. It's not like he's gonna abandon ship on what happens next. Like it's his decisions that got us here as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, this almost seems like if you had like a legal drama with a romance subplot, like having to make this choice. I think it's a cool like season closing decision, but obviously very consequential, maybe for the fate of democracy. So I like it when shows have high stakes. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.